Welcome to the BoomerTalk. My name's Triple. I have my co-host, Neko Miwi Punks.
What's up, guys? How you doing this week?
Doing pretty good, doing pretty good. How was your week, man?
I've been doing all right. Checked out a little small show down in Campbell. Well, basically San Jose, which I mean, I guess if you're not from the area, think San Francisco, but was it the balls end of the shaft that comes up into the bay?
It's run by like a store owner. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah. So it's I think it's the shared space. So I don't know if you know what are those guys? The Retrofix. They're the used game dealer that shows up to a bunch of the local cons.
Yeah.
And then they share a space with this gamer lab lounge meeting up area, but they also sell a lot of tabletop stuff too. Really, really nice space. So it's got that loft. It's very, very 2020s like
Really?
hipster apartment with like the brick wall, the skylight on the roof.
Wait, what?
Really nice space.
What the fuck? Usually our spaces are never nice, especially if we're in like the artist alley. I always thought it was always shitty. We just had to work with what we had, you know?
There's some better than others. I mean, if we talk about nice spaces, right? I think the fan event space is very nice.
Oh, you mean the new room that they put us in or whatever?
Yeah, we got our own separated hall. I mean, the only thing that sucks is if you're facing the windows and it hits after 4 o'clock and the sun starts coming down on you.
I don't think there were many people in like the last row the last time I went to Fanime or whatever. It was just completely empty. Like the last two rows, dude. But that was like 2 or 3 years ago.
I feel those people tend to abandon ship.
What do you mean? They just pack up and leave after a day?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Well, either that or they purposely place some of like the unreliable artists there, so then that's why it always empties out.
Why pick an unreliable artist in like the first place? It's like, if I get a table at like Fanime, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna show up for all 3 days. And I'm gonna do the best I can because this is my livelihood. This is my business. Whatever I put in is gonna be whatever I earn. So if like I'm lazy, like I don't understand that mindset.
All right, I guess I'm bringing some. I'm gonna bring some sunscreen and some sunglasses.
Just tough it out.
No, I feel you on that. I mean, if I got that window spot, actually, if I think about it, what I'd probably do is I'd put like a shade down because I still have that geisha drape. I would sort of build a nice drape so then my covers won't be reflective of the sun.
Or since you had like wall scrolls and stuff, right?
Yeah, and they're printed on matte canvas, so I could put more of those up.
Exactly. Just make the best of what you have, But
You're still talking about like a show with at least 40,000 people walking around. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they don't like being in the sun either. But yeah, they like your art enough. If your art's like good enough, or if you put in enough effort into your salesmanship, I'm pretty sure you're gonna succeed. You're gonna succeed. Just don't get lazy on it.
It's Fanime. It's really hard for you to lose money on that table, I feel.
Exactly. But anything else? Anything interesting over in Campbell, over in Florida that you want to talk about? Any good food that you eaten?
I realize I really like Honduran food.
Honduran food. What's that like? What does it taste like?
Do you want? If I were to give it the most similar thing, I actually think it's very similar to Thai food.
It's very similar to Thai food. Like,
yeah, the spices are different, but the ideas are kind of the same. You know how they had like that? I had that picture of that fried fish that was just drenched in the that coconut milk based sauce.
Oh yeah, I thought it kind of looked like fried tilapia for a second, but I knew it wasn't fried tilapia.
Oh no, they used a good one. They used that I don't even know what it's called, like the big head.
The big head?
It's that red fish.
Red herring?
No. Red herring's
red snapper.
Yeah, but it's not the snapper. It's the rock cod one.
Rock cod.
One with a big head that's all red. Super expensive at the Chinese restaurants.
Yeah. I always got the flatfish. What's it called? The sand dab. I always got that
like,
shit.
Sand dabs, flounder, sole. Give me one of those.
Yeah. Well, it sounds good. It sounds good. It looks good.
I mean, it was a bit of a ride when you walk in and you ask, do you have a seat for two? And the waitress like, hey. I had no idea what I said.
Did you just order like one of everything? Cause that seemed like a lot of goddamn food, dude.
No, that was just one thing.
That was one thing.
I think they so what they have is instead of tacos, they have something called a baliendes, which is like a larger flatbread
Yeah.
that they fold over, so it's almost like a pita.
Mm-hmm.
And then they sort of fill it with cecina,
Mm-hmm.
or I forget. They don't call it cecina; they call it something else. But it's a piece of salt beef and other things. It's good.
I believe it. I believe it, man.
Like was it the El Salvadorians have pupusas, and then I forget where sopas come from, but
Sopas.
it's
I'm pretty sure that's Mexico, right?
is it? It might be southern Mexico, and then like up north, it's more tacos, something along those lines. They have those little differences in their cuisine.
Yeah. Yeah.
How about you, man? I see you putting in the double shifts at work.
Yeah. Yeah. We're short-handed like most days, so I have to kind of like fill in the gaps. But I did finish up the pixel art for Morgana, Yone, Samira from League of Legends, as well as a couple Fate characters and Valorant characters. But I'm not ready to reveal it yet. I'm just gonna wait for the SAC Anime swap meet to like bring them out. Um, I did like a tiny bit of Genshin Impact. You probably guess like which character I probably picked.
Just pick the one with the biggest boobs.
I didn't pick the one with the biggest boobs. I picked the what's her face, the Chunibie. What is it called again?
Chunibyo? Oh, fish?
Yep, yep, yep. I thought it was the most charming design. It was the most charming out of all of them. For other stuff, I'm trying to grind it out on Third Strike. Lots of good players over the weekend. Trying to get some of my skill back in RE5 Mercenaries. Nothing big, just trying to get a high score and stuff. Install a Killer Instinct. Trying to play that. DBZ Fighters. I don't like auto combos, but I'm gonna play it like a little bit just to get some understanding. It looks really cool. I want to get like a surface level understanding of what this game actually entails. Universal Studios, they opened their Super Nintendo world. I don't.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. It's a virtual tour though. It's a virtual tour. It's not the actual park, but this is what the park will look like when it's done. And I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed. I like it better than anything Disney is kind of pumping out right now. There's rumors that Zelda and Pokemon are gonna be a part of the attraction, but I'm not really a big fan of those. But again, I like it better than Disney, so more power to them. More power.
Oh, one thing I did want to ask is, what do you think of RE Village?
Oh man, RE Village. I think I'll play it. I'll definitely play it. It looks like RE4 to me, with like camera angles from RE7, which is kind of good and kind of bad. I kind of miss the old crew, like with Jill and Chris and Wesker and stuff. I don't like the new Chris. I know a lot of people are thirsting for, was it Locust Baby, Locust Bay, and tall big boob lady. I don't know their names. But that's the gist of it. That was like the gist of it. I did enjoy that little meme that you put up where it's like, what is it? What a beautiful woman looks like in Japan and what a beautiful woman looks like in America. I thought that was kind of funny. It was kind of funny.
Which meme was that one?
It was the RE7 RE Village, tall big boob lady and what the Japanese people think is a beautiful woman, and then it was the Last of Us Abby in the section where it says what.
Oh yeah, that one.
I thought it was hilarious. I was like, yeah, that seems pretty accurate.
I thought it was gonna be I thought because there was another one with the daughter vampire.
Mm-hmm.
Like, was a Japanese hot goth chick, and then this is the American version. And it's just like,
Oh, the was it the I'm not Starfire Girl or whatever. I don't even know her name.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, you know, between these two, I think I like this one more. You know. But yeah. RE8 Village, RE Village, pretty good. You know, I'm looking forward to trying it. I still don't know how to feel about like there not being zombies anymore. It's more like werewolves and vampires and stuff, and I don't know how I feel about that yet. But I guess I'll have to actually play the game before I get a solid opinion on it.
That's one thing too, right? Because I kind of do like that they shifted the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Just as something new, right? It's something that they haven't done yet.
Mm-hmm.
And the character designs look cool and everything. But I don't think if you saw in the trailer, if you saw anything mechanically interesting.
No. Like when I was referring to like RE4, it's like okay, there's a village and then there's a castle, like the setting and stuff. And then for the merchant, a lot of people said that the merchant's back. The merchant's back, and while it's not visually the same, you can tell like okay he serves like the same purpose. He appears at certain points in the game and then you can buy weapons from him and stuff. There's also the weapons cache where it's like this case that you carry around, and instead of having every item as like one slot or whatever, they give you like an entire grid. And then like say a sniper rifle takes up like 16 slots out of your 300 slots, and then you can progressively make it bigger and bigger and bigger as you go through the game more and more. So like getting like a bigger suitcase allows you to carry more items and stuff instead of having the RE2 remake style where it's like okay, you get like 6 to 12 spots, and then that's all you get for like the entire game or something.
Yeah, so they did that sort of Diablo inventory where you have the grid and you have to fit everything in.
Correct. They had something like that in RE4. So, yeah. I can see the elements there. But they're trying to keep like the scary vibe for like RE7. Somebody just pop in chat.
Yeah, what's up? I just wanted to stop by and say hi real quick, and I'm in the middle of class and fuck class, but you know, just want to say hi and see what y'all up to.
Oh, we're just doing the podcast right now, dude. We're doing the podcast.
Oh, really?
No, it's fine. Do you want to talk about Resident Evil Village? Do you have an opinion on it?
Oh, besides big titty mouth vampire lady?
Yeah.
minus the fact of, you know, anime titties is always an amazing thing. I mean, like, besides that, but like in this case, this new one seems very interesting, just due to the fact of the graphics, the storyline as well too. Chris just showing up randomly and could be a villain or not, we don't know, but it sounds interesting itself, you know. But like vampire big titty is always my thing, man. Yo, that's my shit.
I always saw that necklace you would have. Was it the I eat ass, right?
Hell yeah, and I would devour that vampire bitch's ass. But at the same time, I'm trying not to die here and have to survive this fucking house. But if I'm gonna die, well, I was gonna have fun eating ass on the way out, right? I'm just saying. That's just my opinion, and this is the most Resident Evil that like I'm interested to see how the villain is gonna play out and what's the storyline between it. You know what I mean?
It has to be like the big lady or something as like the main villain, and I don't know where they're gonna go with it, and I don't know why they brought Ethan back because he's like, I think he's like a writer or like a reporter or something. He has no combat experience whatsoever.
None whatsoever, but I'm still intrigued as fuck to see what happens. Even though I don't have a system to play it on because I'm too poor for that shit. But it's the principle, you know?
They'll probably release it on PC, you know?
Do you think I can afford that? Nigga, I can barely afford Steam games now. Shit.
I just
want to stop by and say hi real quick and see what y'all up to. And if y'all still doing this in the next, like, half an hour, then I'll come back. All right,
all right, man. Have a good time in class, dude.
All right. Y'all be safe. I'll see y'all later.
Matt, did you have an opinion? yeah, that's the gist of it. We like big titty vampire ladies, you know. It's very good.
Like that's just the thing with Resident Evil, right? I think graphically it looks interesting. but in terms of playstyle, it's definitely not my game.
Oh, because like you don't like the first person or third person games, huh? Or the
It's
first person.
more the yeah, like if I play a third person game, I want to do my swag combos, and so Resident Evil or horror games should not have swag combos, right? You should not be mangling the monsters.
Nope. Well, I guess unless it's like Bloodborne or something, like where it's like it has a level of difficulty to provide some scares or whatever, like some need of direness, some panic or whatever. But you certainly can't do anything like Devil May Cry, because I wouldn't qualify Devil May Cry as like a horror game, even though it has like horror elements. It tries to be like a tiny bit of horror, just a tiny
It has a lot of was it graphically it's horror, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it has a lot of those elements of blood, death, very very gothic, very very dark atmosphere.
Mm-hmm. Especially with like the music, they use the church bells a lot and stuff like that. It sets the mood.
Yeah, sort of like Bayonetta.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, those games are certainly not horror games.
No, they are not. No, they are not. The action just really off-puts like any horror those games had, and so I entirely get what you're saying. I entirely get what you're saying.
So I'm very excited to watch you play it.
You're very excited to watch me play it. Wonderful, wonderful. Like nobody wants to play like fucking the fucking scary games. I gotta play them all. Tofu didn't want to play like the Fatal Frame games. He said he was gonna do it, never did it. And then I was like, okay, fuck it, man. I'm gonna play it. If you're not gonna play it, I'm gonna play it.
It's just if it takes more than 18 frames for me to turn around, I just get very frustrated with the level of gameplay.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You could argue that's like a part of the game though, because then like it's supposed to give you this feeling of like helplessness. You're not supposed to feel like a special combat ops soldier or a specialized demon hunter or something. You're supposed to feel like, okay, I'm a regular person. I'm going to have a rough time doing certain things and stuff like that. And things as simple as like turning around, walk speed, trying to figure out puzzles and having a very hard time with them. That's all part of the game, I think. Like, I get what you're saying where it comes with the opinion of like, oh, this really annoys me. This annoys the fuck out of me because it's like, I want to get things done fast, efficient. I want to put out like all the swag stuff, I want to look good and stuff. Like I get that. But it's certainly, you have to have like a certain mindset when you go into those games, I think.
Yeah, that's part of the issue, right? Because good horror games are supposed to make you feel helpless.
Yeah.
And at the same time, like I instead of feeling helpless, I just feel frustrated because it's like, would you just step it up and just move a little bit more quickly?
Mm-hmm.
Just like go.
Yeah. I definitely feel that sometimes, especially with the Fatal Frame games and the Silent Hill games. I was just like, dude, just run a little bit faster, please. Just run a tiny bit faster.
Remember that last boss? It's like you could have gotten the picture if it didn't take a half second to bring the camera up.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, like you could tell like when you were playing, right? That even while you're bringing the camera up, that portion, the boss is still moving around and can still attack.
Mm-hmm. Like on one hand, it's like, okay, this is incredibly tedious. I should not have like this lag time just bringing up my camera or whatever. But at the same time, like on the other hand, it's like, okay, this would probably induce like a lot of panic in me because I know the boss is moving around, and I know this takes like a second to bring up my camera, so I have to either get enough distance or kind of bring up the camera and then snap it as fast as possible before the boss can grab me. So it's like two different things.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that if you like that type of game style, you learn to play around it.
Yeah, I will say it frustrates me sometimes. Like I couldn't play like the Silent Hill games again, even though I love the story, and playing through it the first time was fantastic. Going back to it now, not as fantastic. Great
those tank controls.
Yeah, the tank controls. They're not even like fluid as like, Resident Evil games and stuff. Like I know like there's probably a lot of similarities between like the original Resident Evil 1 through 3 and Silent Hill, but at least for like Resident Evil there's like a lot of weapons that I can like play with and stuff that make it a little bit less repetitive, or it's at least manageable for myself. Whereas in Silent Hill, I have like this stick that I go around and I kind of bonk the creatures like on the head like 16 to 20 times, and then they die, and I don't feel like threatened or anything. I just feel really bored. I feel really bored because it takes a really, really long time to kill one monster. And I know that's not the point of the game, but that's how I play. That's how I play. I'll probably get the bad ending, but that's how I play, man. That's how I play.
That's that's one of the interesting things too, right? Because the storylines in Silent Hill are so good, but that's the issue, because I don't think the AI was smart enough to actually be threatening to you if you knew how to play it right.
Yeah. Like if you had like basic game knowledge of like dodging after you hit like once or twice, it's like it's a pretty easy game, but it can be frustrating, it can be tedious. It's just not for me, which is weird. But anyway, we're gonna move on. So I also played some Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, and I'm kind of enjoying it so far. Soundtrack's
it's a good game.
It is. Did you play it already?
It's on my wish list. I'm trying to. I think I'm probably gonna play. Was it Sakuna?
Of Rice and something, Rice and Loyalty or something.
That's right. I'm gonna be a rice farmer.
It looked like an action game though. Like it's a side-scroll action game, right?
It's like half and half. So part of it is you have to is the rice farming simulation, and the other half is the platformer. And for some reason, I swear I'm gonna get sucked into the rice farming aspect of it like crazy.
That's okay, dude. In Final Fantasy 15, all I did was fish. I fished for like long hours, and I wasn't supposed to do that, but it was a lot of fun to me. I don't care. Farm all the rice you want. More power to you. But yeah, soundtrack's good. Very reminiscent of Castlevania. Miriam looks beautiful. Lots of customization. Pretty eager to try out the 2D classic mode, because it looks exactly like the Super NES Castlevania, like with the bars and then the HUD and then like the attacks and the sound effects and like the background music, all done in like the Super NES age. Pretty awesome.
So they 8-bit everything?
The models are still normal. The backgrounds are still normal. It's fantastic. One day I will say about this game is it's not censored at all. Like, I'm super surprised. I'm not sure if I saw any like coverage on this, but like the first boss, there's just like, can I say this? There's just like big old water titties just on the first boss. It just comes out and then her titties are just hanging out and stuff. I'm just like, whoa. I was not expecting that.
Yeah, it's cool that they went all out. They went all out on not just the violence, but they were just like, dude, make everything hang.
Yeah. like technically you can't really see it because like you can just kind of see like the outline, but it's like enough. It's like enough. I thought like American censorship team would be like, okay, we gotta get on this, we gotta censor this and stuff, but none of it was censored. I was like, wow, this is fantastic. I mean,
well, the other thing too is I think they were able to get away with it because they were also a independent development, and not a AAA.
Yeah, but then the guys who worked on Castlevania worked on this game as an independent project, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, but another thing, one of my friends suggested that I tried the nude mod. And then, like, at first, I was like, oh, okay, that's a little bit too much for me, it's a little bit on the nose. But when I started thinking about it, I was like, I might as well just try it. I've never done it for any of the other games before, so I was like, okay, I'll try it. And it didn't bother me in the least. And, you can call me a DJ all you want, but I thought it made the game look better. Now, before you go on and say that, like, I'm a pervert or whatever, it makes sense within the world, because, like, when I look at some of these monsters and they have, like, their tits hanging out or whatever, I think of, like, the monsters in, like, Berserk, where, like, the female-looking ones with, like, their body out and stuff, they turn out to be, like, a horrible monster in, like, the shadows or whatever, so they use the sexuality to, like, lure in unsuspecting men, and then they die a horrible, horrible death. So within context, I think it's perfectly fine. It works with the setting, and I think it makes the game a little bit better. No complaints there.
Actually, that's kind of true. That's a good comparison. How Bloodstained gives off a very nice Berserk vibe.
I used to play like fucking Dead or Alive 2, Dead or Alive 3, and Dead or Alive 4. Like, I played like at a couple tournaments, and I was moderately good at it. And I knew there were like nude mods for it for the games even before like everybody's like started getting like internet and stuff. But I didn't really care for them. And then when somebody put them like on, or I went over to a friend's house and they had like the nude mods on, I'm like, why do you have them on? They don't look very good. But then in like this game, in like Bloodstain, I'm like, okay, this fits with the world, this fits with the story. I know this sounds weird because I'm talking about Dead or Alive. You know why you're playing Dead or Alive, but like
I don't know. I actually think Dead or Alive. I like Dead or Alive's, and in terms of a fighting game system, like its underlying engine is actually quite good, and I like how it feels much smoother than Tekken.
Yeah, I like the speed. I like the speed a lot better than Tekken actually. But I know a lot of people. If people like generally talk about the game, they usually say stuff about like it being like a rock paper scissors game or whatever. But
Yeah, the counter system is wonky because you can do it out of hit stun, right?
yeah,
So then a lot of the game revolves around you setting up traps on baiting, was it a counter, so then you could launch them, and then once they're in the air, they can't counter anymore.
yeah, which I think is okay. It is like kind of a rock paper scissors game, but at the same time, it's like you got to kind of galaxy brain a lot of this stuff. This is really high level stuff. Like I mean, you cannot believe me. You don't have to believe me. I'm saying like Dead or Alive is a pretty good game. I'm sure a lot of people will disagree with me, but I think it's pretty good.
I mean, I like DOA in terms of the system, but then if you gave me a choice to play 2D or 3D fighting games, like I'm 2D all the way
Oh
through.
yeah, I understand. Like I'm not the best at like Tekken, but I can put up a fight in like Dead or Alive, but I'm not sure if many people actually play the game anymore. It doesn't.
Actually, I think the closest thing to Dead or Alive is probably Soul Calibur in terms of pace.
I guess so, but like I always felt Soul Calibur was always like a little bit clumsy with like the weapons. It felt clumsy to like use and stuff.
It's slower, but then the movement is similar. They both have the 8-way run versus the double tapping for sidestep.
But yeah, like Bloodstained, pretty damn good game. Pretty damn good game. Keep the nudity. Like you'd be surprised. Like if it fits in context with the story, I don't have a problem with it. Like when I think of like a succubus, that is exactly what I picture. It's like, okay, she doesn't have much clothes on. If she doesn't really have any clothes on. It's like she's supposed to lure men and then suck away their souls. Like I think if Capcom had the choice, Morgan would probably be naked most of the time. I think she's naked in a lot of official art too. Like correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember there's like a lot of nudes. There's a lot of nudes on Morgan.
She's naked in the Vampire Savior opening.
Yeah, see? See, that makes sense to me. It makes sense to me. She's like a soul-sucking vampire. What'd you expect, Dimitri's like the same way. He's like super built. He's super built. He's whisking away all the ladies, with his six-pack of death and his giant chest.
Dimitri's like the Isekai king, yo. Like if you look into his lore, or if you his coolest stage actually was it not VSAV but Vampire Hunter, the second game. If you go into a demonstration of like Dimitri's stage, he actually has the harem follow the characters around in the background, and it's really well animated. It's a beautiful stage.
I think he has like an ability where he can change like any of the characters in VSAV to like girls, and then just suck away their like energy or whatever. I thought that was one of the coolest supers.
He has a command grab super.
Oh,
that's the 2-meter one. So he has the 1-meter one and he has the 2-meter one, and then the 2-meter one does the transformation process.
Yeah, that looks so cool. It looks so cool, and it's so in line with like what Dimitri is. So
there's some cool setups for it too. People hit it pretty regularly.
Yeah, man. Okay, but Matthew wanted to do a translation for us regarding the opinions, as far as I know, the opinions of the Japanese on Netflix anime. So we're gonna get to that like right now. You all set, Matt?
Yeah. So well, if there's anything, I wouldn't say it's the Japanese opinion, but it's definitely the Ota King's opinion. If you don't know who this guy is, he's is he former or current? I know he's one of the producers at Gainax. or if not current, he was definitely former,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the big ones.
Is he, so just to get some clarification, is he talking about Netflix originally made anime or Netflix translating the animation, translating like Japanese anime?
He's referring to the Japanese, not the Netflix original productions. So it's not the ones like Demon Slayer where they bought the rights to.
Mm-hmm. So it's like Castle. The only one I can think of is Castlevania. I think there's like some other ones, but I don't know.
Well, Castlevania doesn't count as an anime because it was made by Powerhouse, which is in Austin.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not referring to that. They're referring to something. What are the Netflix original anime?
I'll look it up right now.
There was Blame. They did a segment of Blame.
Netflix original anime.
They also did a Godzilla one.
Did they do the Baki one?
I think so. There's a couple of these. Man, I did not. What the hell? I haven't even heard of most of these.
I've never heard of them either. Knights.
Oh, there's like Ajin. Oh, so yeah, I think the only good one is actually Devilman Crybaby.
Devilman Crybaby. But that's produced by like a Japanese guy, though, right?
Yeah, but that's exactly what they're referring to. And then I guess it'll become more clear once we get into the translation itself.
Okay. Okay. So just tell me when you want to pause it, and then I will pause it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna start.
この理由が解決されない限りこれから先もずっとネットフリックスのアニメはですねつまんないと僕は思います。ネットフリックスオリジナル作品ではですね買い取りみたいな感じになるの。
Go ahead.
Okay, so then the early sign is basically said why can't Netflix anime be a big hit?
Mm-hmm.
And then the text on the bottom right now is just saying he's gonna explain why the Netflix anime itself will never be a big hit at its current situation. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
ので監督も制作会社もですね全員が奴隷扱いなんですよね。だからネットフリックスの企画はみんな基本的にねやり逃げで考えてるんですよ。ヤスさん10代
pause it right there.
Go ahead.
So he's saying the production companies that get tied into Netflix productions feels like slavery to them. And then so when they get tied into the production schedules, guys like directors, they treat it like a hit it and split it.
So it's like a one shot?
No, it's like picking up a girl and then you just sleep with her once and you run before she wakes up.
Oh. So they just want to do this? They want to give this like a one season run and that's it? Is that what you're trying to say?
Or the idea is that they're not doing it because they want to work on the project.
Mm-hmm. They're doing it just for the sake of doing it.
They're doing it for the money
That
because
makes
Netflix is just willing to throw cash at them.
Mm-hmm. So there's no passion in what they're doing. They're just doing it because it's popular, correct? Or they think it's
Yeah.
gonna make them money.
And then it's just gonna well, we can go in more in translation because this is just the preview.
Okay.
ヤスさん10代男性からですね YouTube 無料の方友達から映画やアニメが好きだからオタクだよねというふうに言われました。オタク学入門内では僕が書いた本ですね。オタクというのは高度なレファレンス能力を持つ人種であり、
Okay, you can pause it there.
ただ映画が好きなだけ。
There you go.
So he's received a question for someone named Yaso, and then he's asking, I like movies and I like anime, and then so a lot of my friends are calling me otaku,
Mm-hmm.
and then he wants to ask the Oda King, like, what is your definition of otaku? Like, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? How do we define this?
Mm-hmm. Is it safe to continue?
Yeah, let's keep
アニ
going.
メが好きなだけはマニアやファンと記載されてました。現代におけるオタクとはどのようなものでしょうか。オタクのね定義みたいなもんですかね。オタクってね僕が思うに続けていってなんぼのものだと思うんですよ。だから別に15歳とか20歳
Got it?
And then so he's saying that it's not really about like what your current situation is now because it's hard to really define what otaku is and in a very definite terms.
So his definition of otaku would mean more than just liking anime?
Or it's more about the time spent because he's saying like it's not about you now, it's about you continuing the love of anime from here years and decades from today.
So what he's saying is like in order to be an otaku you have to appreciate the past, present and future works of anime?
Or you know how there's certain characteristics of otaku that come out of people?
Give me an example.
How they'll neglect personal hygiene to buy more anime goods.
Oh, okay.
You know, like certain things that about otaku that come out, and the Otaking is saying these things don't come out immediately right away because it's very hard to define you as an otaku right now.
Mm-hmm.
But as it grows into basically your lifestyle from several years and decades from now.
Oh, okay. I think I get it a little bit more. Okay, so you're saying just watching anime for the first time doesn't make you an otaku, but growing into kind of this lifestyle where it becomes a part of your life and it doesn't become like a side thing where you start to prioritize the buying of anime merchandise and anime itself and manga itself, that's when you become an otaku? Does that sound accurate?
Or just it just takes up a bigger portion of your life where it becomes a more and more piece of it.
Okay. Keep going.
Yeah, let's keep going.
ぐらいの時はそんなにね特徴が出てこない。すごく好きだっていうぐらいでそんな特徴が出てこないで、それが20歳過ぎたぐらいからだんだん積み重ねによってちょっとずつ他の人と変わってくると僕は思ってるんですけども、特有のね発想とか視点があると思うんですよ。例えばネットフリックスなオリジナルドラマってあるじゃないですか。ネットフリックスのオリジナルドラマ、あれドラマはそこそこ面白いんですね。
Go ahead.
Telling the tells of being an otaku don't really come out when you're younger, when you're like 15. They tend to come out later as it basically takes over more and more of your life.
I think that makes a good amount of sense, you know? It's like no one goes into anime thinking they're going to become an otaku, but like the longer you spend around it, the more you're going to become it.
Yeah, and so like simply loving anime doesn't make you an otaku automatically.
Mm-hmm. You have to have, I guess, a certain
like
passion.
I guess when it becomes your lifestyle is when it
really when it really defines you as like an otaku. And we're going to continue on.
僕今の国のアリスですか。今の国のアリス見てるんですけど面白いんですよ。でドラマはそこそこ面白いのにアニメはなんでダメなのかと。これもねちゃんとね理由があるんですよね。理由があるか。
Paused.
So he's saying that the Netflix dramas are actually pretty good, and then in Japanese what they mean by drama is a serialized TV show.
So like any Netflix TV, not necessarily animated, but any Netflix series.
Yeah. So then the difference between like a sitcom and a drama would be a sitcom would be episodic, where each episode is its own standalone piece of work.
Mm-hmm.
And then a drama would be serialized, where you have to watch the previous one to know what's going on in the current episode.
Mm-hmm. And the Oda King is saying that Netflix is doing a pretty good job with that.
Yeah, so the dramas on Netflix are really good, but why are the original anime doing so poorly?
And I'm gonna guess he's gonna go further into it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
からこの先も分かると予言します。この理由が解決されない限りこれから先もずっとネットフリックスのアニメはつまらないと僕は思います。
All right, pause right there.
You keep going now.
Okay.
実はですね去年2020年いくつかの会社アニメの会社からで。
Well, he's just saying like you know why so many people think that the original anime on Netflix are not interesting.
What's his reasoning for it, or is it that was just a question?
Yeah, he's just continuing on. Okay. It helps that like I keep the lines a little shorter so that I don't forget what happens before.
Oh, okay. Just take your time with it. I'll get it in editing. Don't worry about it.
ですね、相談を受けたんですけども、ネットフリックスから企画を出さないかと言われてると、でも迷ってるっていう相談だったんですね。で、なんでかっていうと、ネットフリックスのアニメってですね、権利が全部ネットフリックスなんですよ。すべての権利をネットフリックスが持っていって、で、監督にも脚本家にも何にも権利が残らないんですよね。
You pause it there. That's a good point.
All right, go ahead.
There's been some consultations on how to improve the anime on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the big things is that Netflix ultimately has all the rights to the work.
Mm-hmm. Is that like I guess Disney getting the rights for like Star Wars and then being able to create wherever the hell they want? Is it something like that?
not quite. It's like, oh, the best way to put it would be like if I think that Disney outsourced a work to another studio.
Mm-hmm.
But in most American contracts, right, you would automatically assume that Disney just owns all the rights to the work after they paid the production company to do the work.
Mm-hmm. That seems to make some sense to me.
Yeah.
You want to keep moving on?
No. I was just acknowledging your point. Keep going.
I guess like I was kind of thinking of like how Disney bought Star Wars, but then they're not necessarily using any of the characters. And there were some rumors about like if they were to use any of the characters, like the reason like a lot of the characters were like dying off was because every time they use a character like Han Solo, Leia, Luke Skywalker and stuff, they would have to pay royalties to Lucas himself. So then what they started doing was they started killing off all the characters so then they could keep all the money for themselves. So in essence, they are making original content, but they just want to keep all the money for themselves by creating new characters in this already set universe, you know?
Okay, yeah, it's a little different than that. I think what he's meaning to say is if, for example, Disney contracted out Powerhouse Animation, or let's say Disney contracted out Nickelodeon, and then just the usual American contract would say Disney owns the work, and then because Nickelodeon was a contractor just to provide production.
Mm-hmm. Seems to make some sense.
Yeah, but if you continue, he'll make a different point on that.
Okay.
会社の権利ゼロなんですよ。で、もちろん監督も脚本家もそうですからアニメーターもです声優も全部権利ゼロなんですけども、日本のアニメでももちろんその制作者現場には権利ゼロというのは多いんですけども、実は続編を作る時はスタッフ同じとか、声優同じとか当たり前ですよね。そういうふうにですね、その権利ゼロとは言いながらも日本のアニメっていうのは
Okay, you pause it there.
Pause. There you go.
So to say that the Japanese production company gets zero rights to the work, and of course that also means that the director gets zero work. The animators, the staff, they have no rights to royalties. And then, well, the continuation of that is not uncommon in Japan, but there's an unwritten rule of Japanese production. Whereas if that is the case for that production studio, then that entire staff, they keep everybody because they get kept on for the continuation series, so the season 2.
But what this guy is saying is like Netflix isn't doing that because they're just kind of doing like one-offs where they're shooting in the dark to see what works and what makes money.
He's getting to that. I guess it's the difference between languages where they put certain points in different spots. So that's I had to keep like continuing the translation as a whole.
Okay.
But just keep going.
Okay.
なんかスタッフの流れっていうのかな、このスタッフのもんですよねっていうのは割と守られてる。だから獣フレンズとかで続編作られる時に制作者側が監督すげ替えようとしたら大騒ぎになったじゃないですか。それが当たり前なんですよ。ところがネットフリックはそうじゃないんですよね。
Pause.
So he mentions Kemono Friends was the situation was like that where they actually changed directors for season 2, and then that was actually a big deal in Japan because the unwritten rule is that you're supposed to keep the staff as is.
Just to keep with like the integrity of the show, the
yeah,
authenticity.
Because if the staff don't receive any royalties for this, then the idea is that we will keep everyone on board to continue their income. And that is just that's just how they do things, which is quite different from how things are done in the West.
Yeah, I think in the West we just kind of get contracted like once. Like it's not just for like Netflix TV series, but it's also for like video game development, acting roles or whatever.
Yeah.
Usually it's like a one-shot deal. You get like they'll pay you like a certain amount of money, and then you'll work for this amount of time, and then that's pretty much it. You're done. Like I know there's been like a lot of reboots with like the Marvel universe, the DC universe, where they're constantly changing roles to like different actors and stuff because they don't have this like unwritten rule that Oda King mentioned, where they kind of keep the staff, they keep the authenticity, they keep the, I would say like the passion. They will keep like the passion alive within the show, you know? Because if you have like different people who work on it, they're gonna have less passion than the people who have been working on it for like what, a year, 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah. I think the other thing too is the idea of consistency. That if we keep the same staff, keep the same directors, keep the same animators, that the work will just, if it's not consistent, it will actually get better just because you guys are much more used to working on this and you guys know how to work together.
Correct. I totally agree with that. Continue on.
Yeah, let's keep going.
All right.
ネットフリックスオリジナル作品ではですね、そのなんだろうな、買い取りみたいな感じになるので、監督も制作会社もですね、全員が奴隷扱いなんですよね。だからネットフリックスの企画はみんな基本的にね、やり逃げで考えてるんですよ。本当に面白い企画っていうのはネットフリックスに出さず。
Go ahead.
So what he's saying is because the American contracts, basically they sound like they're buying a production company. What happens is the directors and the staff feel like it's almost like they've being bought as slave labor.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't have any rights or access to anything and there's no guarantee of continuation. They're just like, oh, you just bought this prediction. So the labor's already paid for and you just like bought them for this.
I can kind of see that point. You know, you only buy them for like one purpose. They're not necessarily passionate about the show. They're just trying to, I guess, get something on their resume. Like I think we mentioned this last time, where people who are kind of destroying the comic industry, like right now, possibly the anime industry, the reason they're making like weird content, like content that we're not really used to seeing, or content that is not very enjoyable. I'm not going to say which ones exactly. But
Well, we all know the ones you're talking about.
Yeah. Okay, I'll mention one of them. It's the I'm not a Starfire thing, you know. It doesn't look very enjoyable to me. But at the same time, the writer doesn't look very happy writing it. Therefore, like it makes me come to the conclusion that they're just kind of using this comic thing or this anime thing as like a stepping stone for their career, because they want to get somewhere else. Maybe they want to be a good writer. Maybe they want to make a movie or something, not necessarily about anime, but you know, if it's gonna get them somewhere, they're gonna do it. So I think what Oda King and Matt are trying to get at is like they're getting like a lot of people who are talented but aren't necessarily passionate about the subject at hand. They're not into anime, they don't like anime, but when they kind of make this association to like slave labor and stuff, I can kind of understand that, because it's something they don't really want to do. They're just doing it because they're getting paid to do it.
They're already in the industry, right? They are a production company, but usually it's the difference in culture and how things are done, and he'll get more into it. So let's just keep going.
Okay.
にちゃんと自分たちが権利を持てる座組で発表するんですね。だから具体的な作品名言えませんけれども、一流の監督がなんか受けそうなアニメ作ってて、あれっていうの多いじゃないですか。あれなんでかっていうと、権利全部ネットフリックスに持っていかれるからですね。
Okay, you can
なんか
stop it right there.
割とね、
Pause. Go ahead.
If you were a top tier anime director, and then if you work for Netflix and you get zero rights to the work and zero rights to monetize past the production, why would you use your best gags? Why would you use your best ideas on something that you cannot go beyond the initial production? So it's not a work that you do, and it's not a work that your contract says you have any rights to.
There's no drive to essentially do the best that you can do, right?
Or remember how we were talking about how Disney would take submissions and steal some ideas from some of their better submissions?
Yeah.
And then so it's similar to that, where the guy is thinking, you contracted me out to do this, but I don't get any rights to it, so I can't monetize this thing afterward. So I'm going to save all my better ideas, my best ideas for work that I can monetize. And then for this one, I will do a good enough job, but I'm not going to give it my best work, my best ideas.
Yeah, it makes sense. It definitely makes sense, you know. I wouldn't go full out on like a project if I didn't get paid for it in like the future, because it's all my best material.
Well, to be fair, Netflix does give them a very, very good pay rate, especially compared to what Japanese pay does. But it's mainly because they get no royalties and no rights to the work afterward is the big thing.
I guess like the downfalls of like the one-offs, the contracting the contracting works and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, I think it's a big cultural issue between the way contracts are made. But let's keep going because there's a lot more information that goes on.
Okay.
置いていく企画っていうのかな制作予算で儲けようとしちゃうんですね、みんな。だから、ちゃんと本当に自分たちがやりたくて、長期的に売れそうな作品っていうのは、自分たちの座組で作ると。そのための制作費を稼ぐために、ネットフリックスさんでは、楽な企画で、そこ。
All right, go ahead.
What these directors are saying now is a lot of the directors are using the Netflix budget because they are quite generous with the money that they do give them. And so because they are generous with the money, at least the upfront payment is good. They use that as money to pay for projects that they want to do themselves. Now that they're receiving that money from Netflix, and then they know that in the back of their minds that they're going to use this money for projects they want to do themselves. Of course, they're not going to use their best ideas for the Netflix production. They're going to use their best ideas for the ones that they want to do.
Makes a lot of sense. I mean, like, if you get paid pretty good amount of money, but you don't get royalties in the future, it's like, why would you use your best material? And why would you not make your own production? Like something that you're super, super passionate about, that you have no restrictions on.
Or at least not no restrictions. It's at least at the level of, well, they know that they have another project in their pocket, especially with different light novels, different manga that they want to work on.
Yeah.
Once the Netflix contract ends, so then they understand that, hey, we can use this entire Netflix thing, push it into that anime's budget, and make that one the successful one.
I think the West was like kind of infamous for doing that, like once with like Randy Pitchford when he made like Alien Colonial Marines. But what happened was like all the money that he got from like the studio that gave him the rights for Alien Colonial Marines, he put all that money into Borderlands 3 instead.
Yeah, right. Like when he left the studio and made his own, and then he took that entire money and he spent it all on his own project, which he tried to make it way better.
So I guess that would be like a prime example of it. Like I think it's like looked down upon in like the West, but then it's like if you're getting paid nothing in the future, it's like that's the logical solution, right? That's the logical solution. It's like you wouldn't want to do your best for like a company that doesn't give a shit about you like in the future.
Yeah, you wouldn't do a bad job because that would get you fired, but you're definitely not putting in your best work when it comes to brass tacks, right?
Yeah, you're probably just gonna like skate on by, just kind of do like maybe C+ work, average work,
just enough to pass.
Safe to go to see.
Yeah.
そこ評判になって制作費内で儲けようというふうにみんな考えちゃうんですね。どうしてもそういうふうに考えちゃうんですよね。なのであんな作品が多くなってしまうと思います。メディアビジネスというですね、オンライン雑誌、オンラインマガジンでですね、インタビューがあってですね、ネットフリックスのアニメのプロデューサーの桜井さんという方がインタビュー答えてるんですね。質問。ネットフリックスが 100% 権利を持つと企画作りにおけるアニメスタジオの役割が小さくなるように見えます。ズバッと聞いてるんですよ。それに対してネットフリックスアニメ代表の桜井さんのアニメプロデューサーチーフプロデューサーかな桜井さんの返事がそれは全然ないですね。お付き合いのあるスタジオさんもそうは思ってないはずです。打ち合わせにはスタジオの方や監督も必ず入ってますし出来上がった企画をただ発注するだけの関係ではないと思ってますっていうふうに言ってるんですけども
Okay, you pause it there.
桜井さんという人はね
Alright, go ahead.
He goes on to picking up an online magazine called Media Business, and they ask a Netflix producer named Sakurai about how he feels about the situation, and they asked him very, very straight up, hey, if Netflix maintains 100% of the rights, don't you think that these production companies feel that their role and their contribution to everything is very greatly diminished?
And what was Sakurai's response?
And so Sakurai's response was like, no, not at all, right? Like the production company should not feel this way because the directors, the staff, all the animators, everyone is credited properly. And it's not a system where we're just buying them the labor and then kicking them to the curb.
Or at least that's how Sakurai sees it, right?
Yeah.
But he's not exactly for like the old Japanese system of keeping people on board for like season 2 of a project or giving them royalties in the future or whatever. He's not on board with that.
Yeah, and so I believe that's going to be the next line.
Okay.
If you keep playing the video for a bit.
Okay.
割とね内容に干渉するんで有名なんですね。つまり自分が売れると思ってるアメリカの本国に対してこれ売れると思ってるような内容に割とね強く干渉してくる。でそうなってくるとどうなるかという制作会社としてはどうなのかというとネットフリックスのプロデューサーって中身にガンガン口出して自分のやりたいアニメを作らせる割に俺たちの権利がゼロだ。ここは譲らないと。
Okay, you can
と
pause
な
it
る
there.
ともうこの制作
All right, go ahead.
So then he's saying this Sakurai is actually known in the industry for being very appreciative of the work that goes into anime. But as a producer for Netflix, right? He is very particular about what actually goes into his productions. And since he is particular about that, he will give a lot of feedback to the production companies. And then as the production company, you are receiving all this feedback, but you are getting zero rights for the work, and this is always non-negotiable. And then so the profit that you receive from this project have already been received through the production budget. And then so even the staff are very, very whatever about production. They're like, okay, we got the notes, we'll just do it. And then so they put very little of themselves and their own ideas into the production.
So this is what Odo King is saying. This is not what Sakurai is saying, right?
Yeah, this is what Ori King is saying.
Okay. That makes sense. I think Sakurai seems a little bit blind, doesn't he? He seems a little bit blind to Odo King's points. I mean, like right now, I'm on Odo King's side because it does make a lot of sense. It's like, nobody's passionate about the project, therefore, the project cannot succeed. That's like the gist of what I'm hearing so far.
Because the staff is not motivated to take any of their best ideas and put it into this production.
Exactly. So it's a pretty valid reason why Netflix originally created animes wouldn't work. Or wouldn't succeed,
or so far they've been by and large very mediocre.
Exactly. Very good point.
Like they're not terrible. They're just not great.
Yeah, you wouldn't watch it. You wouldn't watch it over like a solely made Japanese anime. Like I wouldn't go out of my way to like watch any of like the Netflix animes. If it came on, I'd be like, okay, I'll give it a chance. But that's not necessarily a good sign when your anime is kind of like a passing thought in like this absolute huge sea of like different types of anime, probably animes in like the same genre that could probably outshine your anime, no question, that hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people are watching every single day, that people are recommending to their friends. It's like you're not in a good position, Netflix. You're not in a good position in terms of like your originally made content when people aren't passionate about your project,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, so let's continue.
Okay.
作品内で儲けるような作品作るんでいいんじゃないのっていうふうにねやっぱ考えちゃうわけですね。でドラマの場合はですねこれがこの方式でも OK なんですよ。っていうのはドラマの場合は民放のテレビドラマの場合でもですね NHK の大河ドラマの場合でも権利買い取り全部がもう当たり前ですよね。でそれは何でかっていうとアニメと違ってドラマではですね後で例えば DVD 販売で儲けるとかそういう儲け方がこれまでのドラマの歴史の中であんまりなかったのでですねテレビ局の制作予算の中で番組を作ってドラマを作ってそれで儲けるっていうのが当たり前になってたからだからドラマではこのネットフリックス型のやり方ってそんなに抵抗ないんですよ。でも日本のアニメの制作会社っていうのはそれはもう手塚治虫の鉄腕アトムの時代から少ない制作費の中ででも当たるものを作れば後で著作権とかあとなんか商品化とかで大儲けできる。
Okay, I think you
そ
paused
う
it
いう
there.
なんかね宝
Paused? Go ahead.
So he's saying there's a difference between this is the difference between dramas and anime. And so the dramas have very little resistance from this type of contract, mainly because historically speaking, drama production is very much like Western production, where they receive all their money and everyone just gets paid straight up from the production budget. And then so dramas production companies rarely make any money from sales of say DVDs and other goods.
So just to clarify, we're talking about like Netflix TV dramas for people who are just joining us, compared to originally made anime from Netflix. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, but so he's also saying anime is very, very different, especially even from the days of Astro Boy. Like that's back in the 60s. So historically, anime production budgets are very small, and so anime is almost always made at a loss. So all the profit is made from secondary sales. We're talking about the Blu-rays, the disc, the VHSs, and the character goods like official charms, official figures, and that's where all the money is actually being made for anime. And then so in a way, anime production is very much like gambling, where they're just like, we're gonna throw our lot into this, and then if it succeeds, we can make a huge amount of money. But there are also times where there's extreme losses, and even sometimes the profits are very, very little,
So
even with the sales of secondary sales.
So what you're saying and what Oda King is saying is like this money, it's not enough for the people who make it happen, like the voice actors, the writers, the illustrators, the people who animate this production. They're not being paid enough, and whenever they kind of make an anime in like Japan, they always do it. So it's also like a shot in the dark, where it's like you don't know if you're gonna make money off of it or not, and you're actually losing money from actually making this anime, and all the money actually comes from making the merchandise sales.
Essentially, yes. The big thing is not that Netflix isn't paying them enough, because the production cost is actually way more than what the regular production cost would be.
But
it's not enough to offset the
Yes.
potential merchandise sales that they could get if they own the rights to the work.
Yes. I was just about to intervene with that.
Oh,
you
okay,
got
yeah.
You got to it first. It's fine. Did you have
Okay.
other stuff to say?
No, I think we can keep going.
Okay.
悪事を変えるのつもりでアニメ作ってるところが多いんですね。
Oh, I guess there's one more
全
line.
て書いておくと、お
Oh no, I'll add in later.
Okay.
前たちは奴隷労働しなさいっていうネットフリックスの口車には乗らないんですね。なんで言い方は悪いんですけど、手抜き企画でですね、お金だけもらう戦略に切り替えたところが多いんだと僕は見てます。だから実はですね、ネットフリックスのアニメ班はですね、早いこと本国のアメリカに交渉して、アニメの場合は権利認めないと日本人真面目に作ってくれませんよっていう報告してですね、戦略変えた方がいいと思います。またはですね、ネットフリックスで独自スタジオを作るべきなんですよ。ディズニーとかですね、ピクサーみたいな独自スタジオを作って、でその中でアニメーターとか監督雇って、でその中でですね、自社株を配当するというふうに
Okay, you can pause it there.
でないと。
All right. Go ahead.
And then so the last line I wanted to add in was, that's why without that motivation of being able to make money off of the merchandising, that's why the older, especially the classical animation studios, feels like being bought off like this feels a bit like slavery to them.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a pretty odd comparison, but I think like TV shows like back in the 90s, so like Double Dragon, Street Sharks. I'm not sure if you guys remember that. The TMNT cartoon, stuff like that. That I remember it was made at a loss. Like there was a reason why those shows got canceled like so early after like 1 or 2 seasons. I think TMNT had like the longest run with like 4 or 5 seasons. But I remember there were a lot of commercials for their toys, and when I was watching like documentaries on like these TV shows, it was to sell the toys. Like the more people that bought the toys, the longer the show would go. If nobody bought the toys, then it's gonna have a short season. It's gonna have like 1 season and that's it. So
you bring up a good point there, actually, because that's also true for like the 80s shows like G.I. Joe and Transformers.
With there being like so much merchandise that we see at not only conventions but also in like comic stores, toy stores and stuff, you could see it like everywhere. Even now with like Star Wars merchandise, not necessarily selling that well, but you certainly see it like everywhere, right? certainly see those
Yeah.
everywhere.
And then so I guess the point is that even though you know how they were saying Japanese animator pay rates are so low, it's mainly because that if they worked at a certain studio and the anime they made sold really well, they would receive independent bonuses based on performance.
It might have been to like the cartoons that I was talking about might have been to encourage the buying of the toys, but the point still stands. I think it's like, you know, they were always looking for ways to sell merchandise to create more money, and then
Yeah.
like if you think about like some of the animes that we have today, they still kind of work like that. They still kind of work like that. Like there's a reason why like Fate is one of the longest running series, I think, and I think it's because, you know, there's a lot of merchandise out there, there's a lot of games out there, there's a lot of anime figures, posters, DVD
I feel
collections. Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
Oh
sorry.
no, I was about to say, it's a very symbiotic relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't make a bad show. If your show sucks, no one wants your toys.
Mm-hmm.
But then, you know, you have to spend the money to make a good show, and the good show sells your toys where you make your money back. And then so it's symbiotic with the merchandising and how good a show really is.
Yeah. So the show has to be good in order to sell merchandise, because you wouldn't want to buy merchandise of like a show that you didn't really like, right?
Yeah. I mean, nobody does that, right?
Yeah, why would you? Why would you? If you don't like the show, don't buy any merchandise, and then it'll go away eventually, you know? It's like there's tons of like 90s cartoons out there that definitely didn't do very well. They did awfully.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
So before you start the video again, there was a big chunk of a section that I didn't translate yet, but one thing that Oda King is also very critical of Netflix is doing is that Netflix feels that it can solve problems by throwing money into bringing in other directors and different staff members.
So you're saying like once they get the money, I guess like the first season where they have like a no-name director that does a pretty good job, and they start getting some like money from like the merchandising and stuff, they have the chance to get like a AAA super top tier guy, and then they change it just because of like this person's reputation, like something like that.
No, not quite. You know how I was saying earlier how these guys are already top tier directors and they're under contract through their production studios through Netflix.
Yeah.
And then but of course they're not motivated to put in their best work, especially versus you know, like I said, they receive the money but they can't monetize afterwards, so they're saving their best ideas for the production that's afterward, for the ones that they can monetize.
Yeah.
And then so Netflix feels that way, right? So Netflix is seeing the ratings and they're seeing that their original anime is being destroyed in the rankings because they're not all that interesting.
Yeah.
And then so to try to fix this, they're like, okay, fine, let's get a new director. Let's throw more money at this.
And because the first person that was working on it is not really passionate about the project, their solution is just to throw even more money at it and hope it works.
Yeah, and bring in somebody new, bring in new staff members, bring in new animators. Maybe that will fix the problems.
Yeah, or more reputable workers or actors or animators or whatever, right?
Yeah, so they're trying to change staff, and then Oda King saying like, well, you can do that as much as you want, but as long as you give that production company 0% of the rights, you will not find a single Japanese creative to take this production seriously. So even if you bring in all the new guys and they're all like top tier talent,
they're not going to be passionate about it.
Yeah, they're going to do the exact same thing. They're going to take your money and they're going to funnel it into projects that they want to do.
That makes a lot of sense. That's a really, really good point, actually. It's like throwing money at something is never going to fix it. Well, most of the time it does not fix it, but you have to, I guess, treat your employees with a certain amount of respect. In this case, it's like, you know, you have to give them royalties to make them passionate about a project, have them use their best material in order to make your anime succeed, because you never want C+ material in like an anime, because if it's average, nobody's gonna come and watch it. If you're average in anything, nobody's gonna come and watch it. They want to watch it above average stuff. They want to reach for stuff. They want to see like they want to set goals for themselves and joke like that, right? It's like
Yeah, and as long as Netflix doesn't understand this cultural difference, they will never ever really be able to create a great anime out of their original series.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And but Otter King does provide in the next line, he does provide a solution, and he says what Netflix needs to do is actually they need to create their own independent studio in Japan.
So like one that solely focuses on Netflix.
Yes, and so that studio in itself, because it's a Netflix owned, they can receive the direct dividend of the profits.
Mm-hmm.
And this way, you solve that cultural issue, and Netflix can easily hire top tier directors and animators and staff, especially with their operating budget, which is much higher than most Japanese production studios. But then he also mentions that, you know, if you only pay them through budgets, you will only continue to have this level of mediocrity because none of these guys will take you seriously.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It really does make a lot of sense. You have to have passion for your project. You have to, like, if you work for like a big name company, I think a lot of people in the West have the idea that, oh, it's just an honor to work for so and so company. So they go in all bright eyed and star studded. They go in like
Yeah.
star studded. They think like, okay, I'm finally working for the company that I really want to work for, and I'm gonna do all the best things that I can because this was my goal in life. And they end up becoming very, very jaded the longer they're in the company. Like Blizzard is a prime example. Blizzard like is a prime example because I know there's a lot of people who go into Blizzard and they're really happy to work for Blizzard. They grew up with like Blizzard games, you know, Diablo, StarCraft, World of Warcraft, all that stuff. But I know there's a lot of reports of Blizzard employees that are being underpaid. They're having their wages cut. They're not very happy being there. And then it's kind of like it's a very, very cruel practice to just think it's like, okay, there's more people out there who are just as passionate about Blizzard, and then they're like, they just replace them. They just replace them like that, and it's kind of a horrible practice because then it's like you don't know if like the next person is going to be as passionate. Like there's a declining passion to work on each game, and I think it's showing in like the video games. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I think that's a big thing with Blizzard. And I also, you're familiar with the term wage slavery, right?
Refresh my memory.
So it's the idea. Well, it happens mainly because these people go into these companies and they're so starstruck by the idea of working for this company that they will do anything to work for this company, and that means they will take whatever abuse that it takes just to keep this job.
Yes.
Rather than saying like, hey, like fuck you, my talents could actually be better spent elsewhere.
Yes. That's
exactly
what I was trying to say.
So then I think Netflix was thinking that, hey, if we give these Japanese production companies like X amount of money, they'll be starstruck and like, hey, we get this international audience. And they think we'll get the best work out of them because we're paying them like such a better wage than they're used to getting. And it turns out that all these guys were like, okay, we'll take your money, but we don't really give a fuck about your project because we're just going to do it, take your budget and funnel into projects that we want to do.
That makes
so
sense.
it becomes like that sort of that double exploitation where at first you think that you can buy them off, and then instead of actually being starstruck, they understand the game. So that you sort of game Netflix, and they're just like, yeah, we're just taking you for your money, and we're gonna put it into things that we want to do.
Companies are so convinced that they are like the higher authority when they hire these employees that they always think that they're gonna get like the A+ treatment from the workers.
I think it's absolutely true, especially since 90s Marvel, and I don't know if you remember what happened with the when all their top talent left, like the artists, and they went to form what's that comic book company?
Horse?
Not Dark Horse. They all left to
Image.
Image. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
So Marvel felt so betrayed by that action that from that point on, they've treated the artists like shit since that point. Like the pay rate went down, the page rates went down. Everything had been going down since the 90s because they felt so betrayed that the top tier talent left.
I think it's very, very true for like a lot of Marvel movies as well as Marvel comics, DC movies. They keep changing like a lot of the directors. They have zero respect for like the source material. They usually retcon a lot of stuff. The writers or the directors kind of do whatever they want, and I think that's like a prime reason why I'm not invested in any of the comic industry anymore. Like I used to be a big time fan in like what 2015, but now like I can't even look at it anymore because it's like a shadow of its former self. I don't enjoy it very much when there's like a new movie or something.
Yeah, but I think it's healthy for the industry overall that this happens too. That when the big dogs die and then the crop of new guys come up, well, it just brings in those newer ideas. If you're holding on to like these legacy things for so long, it's stagnating because it gets nowhere, right? Because I remember talking to some guy who worked at Pixar, and he said within I think 18 months he knew that he was ready to quit, and he did not want to be there in more than 3 years. Because he knew that the upper staff, like the guys who founded Pixar, they're all there, they're all still alive, and they aren't going anywhere. So your ability to advance up the chain and do better for yourself is 100% stagnated.
It stops right there.
And he knew that the point, well, he's being paid well at Pixar too, and he knows that. But it's not enough because he knows that there's that soft cap where you just cannot go beyond. And so... And he was never starstruck by the idea of working at Pixar either, which was really, really good on him. So he understood that he knew to pick up the skills, keep his best ideas to himself, and then when he was ready to strike out on his own, that he was able to hit that ground like running hard. It's too bad I never kept up with him. It would have been interesting to follow up now that that's been like more than 5 years down the line to see where he is.
Yeah. Like I would be really interested in like more I think just from like listening to this, I'm more interested in hearing about like the passion projects of reputable creators who have worked on certain games. Like I didn't have like the best idea of like Shinji Mikami for like the longest time when he went out on his own, when he stopped making stuff for like Capcom, and there was that other guy. Was Shinji Mikami the guy who played Resident Evil or Mega Man?
No, that's Mikami was Resident Evil. So I think the last project he worked at Capcom was Resident Evil 4, and we're seeing it in Japanese gaming too, where I think that the straw that's breaking the camel's back is the censorship from Sony. They're saying like it's so not worth it, and we're like, fuck this, we're out. Like let's go take our ideas and let's do our own thing.
Yeah. I will say like I was burned a couple times by some of the independent creator works, but I think just from listening to this video alone, I'm changing my mind like a lot more. I'm opening up to more independently made video games and anime. I'm giving them more of a chance. And I'm looking less at like the AAA productions and stuff from like established companies like Capcom, Bethesda, EA and stuff. Like I couldn't give a shit about them anymore. No.
Yeah, so the transitions are never smooth, right? You think that these guys, they got so much experience, they should be able to do everything. Yeah. Like it's not quite. Like there's gonna be some growing pains while some of the legacy companies start to shrink and die off, and the newcomers haven't really filled in the role yet.
Yeah, I will say I'm a little bit tired of some of these franchises. Like I love Resident Evil to death, but you know, it was kind of a nice change when I played like The Evil Within. It was pretty damn good. It was pretty damn good. Like solely made by like Shinji Mikami.
I read the story summary for Resident Evil 7, right? And then just reading this, I would have just automatically, my mind automatically went to the idea that if they didn't have a Resident Evil label, that it would have just been a great game on its own.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's actually, at this point, it's actually being held back by the label. Because I think if you labeled it something else, released it as a horror game, and it grew into its own franchise with Ethan being the main character, and you still threw in that Chris Redfield like cameo at the end,
They don't need it.
Now you got people talking, and but now you got people talking about, oh, is there a connection? Like, what's the difference? Like, what's happening in these worlds? Like, it's not the virus, it's not like what's going on. And then so you've created like a whole new level of buzz going for yourself.
Bringing in the new ideas kind of refreshes the franchise, I suppose, right?
Yeah, and so it's not a franchise thing because now, like you said, you're getting a little bit of franchise fatigue, and then honestly, 7 could have been its own game. And I think they said the same about was it Call of Duty with the space one? They say it's not a bad game. It's just not really Call of Duty. And then like if this thing had its own label and created its own stuff, like you could have made like EA could have had its own full set of sci-fi shooters that had some loose link with the Call of Duty on the ground. And they could have had like an entirely different cash cow because then you have like 2 different player bases. Like, hey, I love my sci-fi shooter, or like, hey, I love my more, my real gun shooter.
I think that makes a lot of sense. That does make a lot of sense. I always wonder, like, maybe companies are like a little bit scared to like take that extra step out of their comfort zone. Maybe they think they have to slap on the label. They have to slap on like something that has been established for like a really long time in order to make the sales, in order to get publicity, in order to get people excited. They certainly don't want to lose. As far as I know, if I was running one of the companies, I certainly wouldn't want to lose any of my longtime fans who have been buying my merchandise for like years and years and years. I wouldn't want to lose them. So I would be a little bit hesitant to market this game as its own separate entity compared to slapping a label on it and saying that, oh, this is the future Resident Evil. This is Resident Evil 8. This is Resident Evil 9 and stuff like that. It will be really hard for me to make that decision, I think.
It is a significantly higher risk. But that's the issue with a lot of the legacy companies is they're not willing to take these risks anymore as they were when they were the up-and-comers.
Yeah. Silent Hill was like a big example of that too, where a lot of its games are, I would say, like sitcoms. They're kind of like sitcoms because they're all like different stories and stuff. Like you can go into any Silent Hill game and it'll be a different story, and you don't have to play any previous Silent Hill games to get what's happening in the story. And like I think back then they were taking a lot of risks.
They were also taking a lot of risk when it came to their cinematography, the way the game's atmospheres were.
I think Final Fantasy did that too. Final Fantasy still does that. When they like integrate entirely new casts and stuff. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, that's a really good example too, where they're always heading in like different directions, but they kind of give like this very, very small hint that, oh, maybe maybe like these 2 characters are linked together or whatever. You see like
in JoJo's case they are, but every one is also very standalone.
Yeah,
which is nice.
Yeah, you can watch each of them, and then like it'll entice you to look at like the previous seasons, but you don't necessarily have to look at the previous seasons, you know?
Yeah.
Did you want to is there anything else Oda King wanted to close with?
Well, the closing minute, I believe, is also just him going back to Yasuo and trying to define otaku. So it actually really has nothing to do with the with the actual Netflix issue.
It's okay. It's okay, dude.
Oh, you can play it if you want. I'll translate it, but
well, might as well. We'll finish it off.
Yeah, just finish off.
予算ばっかりかかって割とね普通の作品が上がってくるとね現状がいつまでも続くことになると思います。で、ヤスさんのですねオタクとはどんなものかというのに対する返事なんですけど、この僕のこのものの見方がオタクの発想なんですよ。ただ別に好きで構わないんですよ。ただ好きで構わないんですけど、それを何年も何十年も続けてくると自分の人生経験とくっついちゃってですね、こういうふうにですね読み取りができるようになるんですね。そうするとアニメーションというのはもっと面白くなってくる、奥深くなってくると思うんでですね、オタクの定義っていうのはどの時代にもどの世代にもバチッとオタクの定義って難しいのでですね、僕はオタクは継続していくものだと。で、オタクには特有の視点とか発想というのがあるというふうに考えてます。岡田敏夫の YouTube を見てくれてありがとうございます。毎晩ですね、だいたい夜の7時ぐらいに新作動画を配信していますので、ぜひぜひチャンネル登録よろしくお願いします。
Alright, yeah, that's just he's just advertising his own stream now.
Well, we are using his material, so it's like, go ahead, go all ham about it.
So he's just saying, like, going back to Yasuo's question, it's just how he sees things. That it's not No, just loving anime now and when you're young isn't really the thing that defines you as an otaku. It's just and then just loving it through years and decades and how it becomes inseparable from your life experiences is when you truly define what otaku is. But to say like what are the actual like what are the actual the what's the best way to put it? The thing that makes outside people tell that you're an otaku is just impossible to define, especially when you go how many generations of otaku have taken up since the 60s with Astro Boy till now.
So I'm just gonna try to summarize what you're saying in like one sentence. But in order to understand being an otaku and being passionate about anime, you have to kind of live as an otaku. You have to understand the experiences that otaku has been through in order to be passionate about a project. It's like it's not enough that you read about something. It's not enough that you watch a documentary about something. It's more about experiencing it firsthand. And that's when you kind of feel most inspired, especially as like a writer, an illustrator, an animator. That's when you feel most inspired to do your best work.
No, not quite. I mean, it's kind of weird that the whole Netflix thing was very unrelated to Yasuo's question. In all honesty,
I think it was like it was kind of related. Like I can understand like you have to be passionate about a project, and you have to have firsthand experiences. I think, and when you kind of understand your audience a little bit more, you make your best material for the audience that you're targeting because you understand them firsthand, you live their experiences firsthand, and you're doing all your best material. And the way he's trying to relate it to Netflix is Netflix doesn't have that passion at all. They don't have that passion at all. They don't know what being an otaku is. They probably have never seen an episode of anime, or if they have, they've never been as passionate about anime as Oda King, or I would say like Japanese animation companies, you know? And that's
I mean that's actually kind of an interesting point that you brought up. How like even if they were fans, like they like anime, but anime isn't an integrated part of their lives.
Yes, absolutely.
Like if it disappeared, they would just find another form of entertainment. But
exactly, they're not super devoted to the project. Therefore, they can't create the best work. They can't find the best people. They don't know anything about what it takes for an anime to actually succeed. It's like if you try to... It's like when Michael Jordan tried playing baseball. You know?
did he really?
Like, I think he tried to play baseball or golf at one point. But the thing he was most passionate about was basketball. And even though he liked golf, he liked baseball, he wasn't exactly as passionate about it, and it kind of showed in his performance. Like everybody was kind of like patting him on the back and was like, "Oh yeah, good job, Michael. Good job." But he's not setting any records in golf. He's not setting any records in like baseball or whatever. You know, it's like when you think of Michael Jordan, what do you think of? Basketball. You think of basketball, you know. I think I know it's a very bizarre connection, but then like I'm trying to like piece together everything like Oda King and Matt were saying into like, you know, something that I understand, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting how he went off on Netflix from this question, just because Yasuo is coming from him in terms of a fan point of view, and it's like, am I really an otaku? Like, how do we define this? What makes me one? Well, and Oda King's like, just chill out, don't worry about it. Like, we can't define it now. We'll just like, but if you still watching, you still love anime, like 10 years from now, and you're some like dirty motherfucker and alone in an apartment, like you'll know.
It's a sad future, but I certainly understand what he's saying.
But he's saying like, you know, it just becomes an integrated part of your life.
Yeah, I get it. I get what he's trying to say, you know? Like, it's a pretty good segment, I'm not gonna lie, you know?
We'll smooth it out as we go along.
I would be
because...
I would actually be interested in doing like more of these. It's really fun. It's really interesting to hear like their perspective of things because I've never heard of Oda King before. I've never heard of this guy before. But then his reasons for not liking originally made anime from Netflix are very, very valid. I understand them entirely.
Yeah, he's taking the general sentiment against well, even in his own comic section, like there's a bunch of Japanese people that are saying, "Hey, what the hell, yo? Like Devil Man Crybaby is amazing."
Yeah, but
You
like,
dumb fat fuck.
yeah. but still, it's like, yeah, I get what you're saying, dude. Like, I'm not gonna fucking call people names and shit. It's like, you know, like you have you have your opinion, and I have my opinion. It's like I'm always interested in hearing like people's opinions. It's like, but if you're gonna insult me, it's like I'm gonna stop listening to you. You know, it's like, and I'm just gonna ignore you entirely.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's a very, very interesting opinion, and I agree with a lot of it. And there's not like, you know, there's things that he'll put out there I'm pretty sure I'm gonna disagree with.
Yeah.
But him being former or current like producer at Gynex, I think gives him a very direct view into what at least the Japanese industry is looking at.
He's very genuine. He's very genuine. He's more genuine than most, I guess, directors in the West. Yeah, I think
I feel like he's much more direct than Sakurai, and Sakurai gave the very PR answer.
It's like,
and so
like just give me the raw uncensored shit. You know, just give me the raw uncensored shit. I want to know what you think. I want to know what you think. I don't want to hear some like PR bullshit about like, oh, we can't say this, we can't say that, or whatever, or like we're gonna try the best we can. Don't give me that shit, dude.
that's the hardest part about a lot of Japanese media when they're in public is they will never give you a straight answer.
But it will be nice. That's what I just like Oda King because he's genuine. He's authentic. You know, it's like I like what he's saying. I don't agree with all his points, but I get what he's saying. I get what he's saying.
Him and Yoko Taro. I feel like Yoko Taro is very direct in things too. He's very just open and honest about blurting stuff out.
The guy who made Nier Automata.
Yeah, he's the writer for the Nier series.
Oh, maybe we'll cover him sometime. You know, maybe we'll hear like a small segment about him, and then do something like this again. You know.
I mean, like when a couple of Western journalists asked him, like, well, why did you design, you know, to be the way you did? And he just always said, I just like drawing girls. Like, I don't have any reason. There's no excuse. There's no deeper meaning behind anything. I like girls and I like ass. Like that.
See, I like that shit. Kojima was like that shit too, man. When he made Quiet in Metal Gear 5, he was just like, yo, I just want to see some sexy cosplay. Yeah, sure. Like the water does give her energy. Yeah,
she
it does.
breathes through her skin and the water gives her energy. It's like, are you for real, dude? He's like, no, I just wanted to see some sexy cosplay.
See, that's the kind of honesty I want. Oh man, fantastic. Good segment. Okay, we ran pretty long today, so we can't cover the other news segment that I wanted to get to. But it was still a lot of fun. And if there's anyone still in the chat, I hope you guys enjoyed this segment of Boomer Translations, I guess. But
it's actually kind of nice about talking about employees striking it out on their own because hopefully I need to talk to Leanne and Aaron about getting on the show because two previous AAA game employees now independent, and hopefully we get them on Boomer Talk soon.
Yeah, I might we might bring this up again when we talk to those two. It would be really interesting to get their perspective on things, you know. But yeah, we're gonna call it for now. We're still gonna be on just on our own. Matt is gonna be working on Murasaki. Is that correct?
Yeah. Actually, shit. I'm working on some art team piece right now, so I can't turn my stream on.
Okay. He's gonna be working on some 18+ stuff. You can still catch him on like Pixiv, right? You're still streaming on Pixiv?
No. I'm just working. I just have to make sure that my Streamlabs is not turned on.
Oh, okay. Matt's not gonna be on, but I will be on. I'm gonna be playing The Medium, which is a psychological horror game with the music that is composed by Akira Yamaoka and Mary Elizabeth McGlynn. Silent Hill music veterans.
Wait. Are you gonna pick up was it Ghost Story? Seance?
Oh, which one's that one? I'm gonna look it up right
It's
now.
the cyberpunk horror one.
Oh, the one with the big titty lady or whatever, right?
Yeah, I mean it's got everything that you want in a game, right? Like we got some horror, we got some cyberpunk, we got big titties.
Hey, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I don't remember saying that. I just remember fucking the other Matt bringing this up, and I was just like, oh man. Now that you mention it, I kind of like it too. But
if you're having fun with Blasphemous, try Morbid.
Morbid. I gotta get
Morbid,
through...
the Seven Acolytes.
I'll check it out. I'll check it out. But I gotta get through Bloodstained first. I'm gonna...
Oh, Bloodstained. Sorry, yeah, Bloodstained.
Yeah, I have to finish Bloodstained, and then I have to start playing like the medium, like straight after this. Maybe some Fight Kid towards the end, because I remember I didn't like playing like the Silent Hill games, like the old ones. So we'll see how that turns out. You know, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about this game.
All right.
But again, we thank you for checking out the podcast. If you like us, be sure to hit that follow button or subscribe. It really helps us out. Over on Neko Mimi Punks for Matt, NEKO MIMIPUNKS, and myself, Triple TRIPLE7SP. Be sure to check us out. Hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button. Anything you guys can do to help us out, we really appreciate it.
Also, don't forget to check out the YouTube for
BoomerTalkYT.
Yeah.
Yeah, be sure to check it.
Not podcast. What do you call it? The VODs. That's what it is.
Oh yeah, the VODs. Be sure to check out the VODs on BoomerTalkYT on YouTube. You can check out previous episodes there. If you guys want to hear more about like fighting games and stuff. We try to keep a variety of things on the podcast. But yeah, if you're interested, check those out. Other than that, Matt, you want to sign us out?
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys next time.